Welcome to Pro Mindset. Today we're going to talk about NFL training camp. We are going to have a series of a couple podcasts where we're going to talk about what training camp is like from the player's perspective, from a rookie perspective, from a veteran perspective, the mental challenges, the grit, the grind, and the glory of training camp, and the unfortunate. Just like Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks really gives you an idea what training camp's about. It's not all glamorous. All the conversations that players have with GMs and front office people isn't always good. This is not going to be a negative episode. This is going to be a real episode. So I'm going to welcome everybody to 2024 Pro Mindset Podcast, covering issues related to training camp. But before we get started, the book is available, called Pro Mindset, How You Can Be Your Best in Your Biggest Moments. It's available on craigdomann.com. Pick up a copy if you're interested in digging a little bit deeper into how you can be your best when it really matters. So jumping right in, introduction today is about the overview of NFL training camp. The NFL training camp is the ultimate meritocracy. You've got 90 guys that are going to show up. And when training camp is over, 53 guys are going to end up on the practice or on the active roster. And in between, there's a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns and injuries and disappointments, unmet expectations, even projections by the teams where they expected a certain player to do a certain thing and he doesn't do it. And they wait until the last minute to finally make the decision that, hey, this guy's not ready. He isn't what we thought he was. We've got to put him on the practice squad. He might have a minor injury. They're going to put him on injured reserve and basically redshirt him. But I'm going to give you this perspective from a player perspective, an agent perspective, from a dad perspective. The week leading up to training camp, players have a honey-do list that's a mile long. If they don't have a significant other, they create their own list. If they have a significant other, it's all the things they wanted to get done before basically he's going to be gone for 5 months and really going to be gone for 5 or 6 weeks during the training camp time period. It's impossible. It's impossible to get everything done. We all do the same thing before we go on a big vacation. We don't get our sleep the night before because we're trying to get everything done that we didn't get done. These guys are doing the same thing. They have been training ever since OTAs on their own. Sometimes some guys stay at the facility where the team is. Most guys don't. Most guys go back to their primary residence, hometown, college town, depending on the player. And they have their own trainer. They've got their own program. And not everybody is training the same. Not every player is going to show up in training camp, for training camp, in the best shape of their life. Some guys are going to be perhaps in the best shape they've ever been. Other guys had distractions, unexpected situations pop up during the summer. Maybe we're nursing an injury, maybe a family situation, and they show up to training camp and they're just hoping that they can catch up. And they're hoping the coaches don't notice. And sometimes they don't, but most of the time they do. The conditioning test doesn't tell a lot. It just shows that you're in sufficient shape to do some gassers, do certain things that different teams do. The real indication of whether a player's ready is really about week 2, week 3 of training camp. Anybody can get it out that first week. They can show up out of shape, and they're still going to be okay that first week. First few days, go without pads. Then they throw the pads on. These guys get a day off every 7 days leading up to the first preseason game. It's really when the mental pressure starts to set in. It's when the reps start decreasing. It's when they see their positions slipping away. It's when the coach is giving more attention to one of their teammates than to them. That's when you weren't prepared, when a player's not prepared, it really shows up. Affects their sleep. It affects their focus during position meetings. And it affects their focus on the field when they should be taking mental reps and they're going through all the different worst case scenarios in their minds about, oh man, I need this guy to get hurt. I need this to happen if I'm going to have any chance to make the roster. Okay. So at the end of the day, the players need to show up in shape, but mostly they need to show up in mental shape to be able to handle the adversity, the obstacles, the unexpected circumstances, the changes that they didn't expect and just get blindsided by. Because if they can be strong mentally, they can overcome anything. Every one of these guys is a fabulous athlete. These guys are in the NFL for a reason. There's a lot of awesome, talented players that don't even get on the 90. So when you think about the 90, everybody thinks about, the Patrick Mahomeses and the Josh Allens and the superstar guys. But there's a lot of studs that play college ball that, for whatever reason, are not on the 90-man roster because they either didn't get a contract after the draft if they're a young player. If they're an older player, the teams those guys are going to be ready. They're going to be available. They're going to be in shape. They can call them the first, second, third week of the season and they come in and be ready to go. So they don't even bring them in for training camp. So every single year, there's always a number of players on every single team that didn't even go through a training camp and they end up playing meaningful games in the regular season. So I'd like to kind of go through some of the excitement and anticipation that players have before training camp. Everybody they talk to, mom, dad, girlfriend, wife, brother, sister, best friend, college buddy, all those people. Are you ready? What's going to happen this year? Everybody wants the players to predict the future. Everybody thinks the players are fortune tellers and they have this crystal ball and they can kind of share, hey, I'm going to be great this year. I'm going to become a starter this year. We're going to win 12 games, whatever the case may be. These players have no idea. They have no idea. And what makes it really difficult for the players is they have no idea what the team's thinking. Even if the team tells them what they're thinking, there's a good chance that what the team told them isn't 100% accurate. Because teams generally don't tell the players 100% of the information. They tell the players the information that they want them to know, sometimes to build up their confidence, sometimes to light a fire under the butt, but they don't tell them all the information. So players don't know. So those questions by family members and friends and loved ones, the people in their circle, just mentally drag these players down. It's like, dang, every day, every meal, everywhere they go, every phone conversation can include a question from a loved one that says, what's up? What do you expect? And are you ready? I'm going to move into one of the most difficult things for players. It's when they show up for training camp. They pack their bags, they jump on a plane, they drive across the country, they drive across the city, they show up for training camp. And the head coach always has introductory, set the tone, culture-changing kind of conversation with the entire team. And the coaches, the head coach, especially in this situation, tells the players what his expectations are, what their plans are, what their non-negotiables are, what they're going to reward, what they're going to penalize, what behavior they're going to reward, and what behavior they're going to penalize. And the reward behavior is like great effort, show up on time, be locked in, be ready if you're the next man, know the playbook inside and out, know the plays even if you haven't taken a physical rep with that play call. They throw you in for a play you've never run before. They expect you to know it. Generally, teams have a 14-day install period during training camp. I'm not sure why they do this, but they break up their playbook into 14 installments so that the players can learn it. And generally what happens, especially for young players, is they learn about 99% of the plays. Well, that's not a big deal until it is, and it usually is a big deal a handful of days later, because now you have 2% of the plays you don't know, 3%, 4%, 5%. After 14 days, you don't know 14%. And that's a problem when you get in the preseason. That's a problem when you get into scrimmage situations. That's a problem when you get thrown in a team period with the ones and you've been running with the threes and they want to see how you do against the ones. It just so happens the play that the OC called, if you're on offense, was one of those 14% that you didn't learn. So what really kills young players is that they don't really sense how important it is to know every play completely, whether they got to know it inside and out, sideways, every which way you can look at it. And when they don't get an opportunity to run that play during the walkthroughs and the learning periods, they still know that play. So when they do get thrown in on surprise, they know what they're doing. They execute the play. Another aspect that I'll share is that training camp is a pro mindset revealer. If a player has a pro mindset, if he's not bringing his past with him, whatever happened last year, all those types of things, he's elevated his standards. He has a very clearly defined performance bubble for every practice. So when he steps on the field, he's locked in. He's not thinking about what could happen. He's not thinking about where he's going for dinner. He's not thinking about a conversation he might have had with his coach that morning. He's locked in or not. So the pro mindset revelation is once hey, it's hot. They don't do these practices in indoor AC environments. They do them in hot environments on purpose. They do them outside. They do them in the middle of the day. They want to put as much duress and stress on these players as they can so that they can show who they really are. And when a guy doesn't have a pro mindset, he's distracted. He has fears and he's responding to his fears. He's being regulated by his doubt. He might be lining up for a play, and instead of thinking about his responsibility, he's thinking about what am I going to do if I don't do it? What's the coaches going to think, or what are the coaches going to do if I don't do it? And then the ball snapped, and then they got to do it. And it's very difficult to be your best when you doubt that you can be your best. So the pro mindset revelation really takes place in training camp and separates the guys that really have their act together mentally compared to the ones that don't. I think one of the other things with training camp, just generally speaking, is the big D word. The big D word is distractions. It is so challenging for players to stay locked in, to be in the moment. Today, we're just going to think about today. We're just going to think about the next meeting, the next walkthrough, the next practice. We're not going to think about what could happen at the end of training camp. So think about a player who goes through training camp, which is roughly 6 weeks. Let's just say it's 35, 40 practices, including games and whatnot. And they think about the potential outcome every single day. That means they've been through that story 35, 40 times before they actually need to go through that story. A pro mindsetter is a guy that focuses on the day, tries to do the best he can that day, doesn't want to make the same mistakes twice, is learning from his teammates' mistakes. So coaches are really good about correcting the players. So if there's a mistake, a route's not run correctly, an angle's not taken correctly, a responsibility's not understood by a teammate, when that teammate is getting coached up, the pro mindsetter is getting coached up. So not only is he getting direct comments and feedback from his coach, he's learning from indirect conversations and feedback from coaches to his teammates. And when he gets to the end of training camp, he gets to go through the final cuts one time instead of 40 times. That's it for today. Short and sweet. We're going to have, like I said, a handful more of these pro mindset training camp episodes. Just want to remind you again, I'm not going to beat you up, but if you want to learn more about pro mindset, you want to check out the book, Pro Mindset, go to craigdomann.com. You can order your personal copy there. And I want to wish you guys the best in your own training camps. Everybody's got a training camp of some type, but there's probably not television cameras there. There's not media reporting on everything you're doing. But these guys in the NFL have those kind of situations. And have a great day. Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.